Hi, this is Joseph from NizhoniPhoto.com, and in today's video I'm going to be walking you through how we can do a really simple sky replacement in Photoshop. So in this photo, I took this in Italy, in this really beautiful town in the Dolomites, and this is a location that I always wanted to shoot at because it's just so beautiful and so iconic. Unfortunately, well, not really unfortunately, when I was there, I had really, really beautiful light alongside this hillside, but I didn't really have a killer sky. As you can see, it was just a sheet of boring blue. And even though I love this photo, I always kind of felt that the sky was just holding it back from being a really awesome photo. So even though I don't like replacing my skies too often, I just like shooting my landscapes as they are. Even though that's really how I don't like doing that, this photo to me is so special that I just want to make it awesome. So this is a great candidate for a sky replacement because I don't know when I'm going to be back at this location again. So I'm going to show you how we can go about doing a really simple sky replacement. So the first thing you have to do is find a really good sky to replace your original photo with. What I did is I went through all of my photos and I actually found this picture. It was from the same trip. I took this photo in the French Alps and it's really not a great photo at all, but the sky is really perfect in it. I really like these wispy clouds. I really think that they would be perfect for framing the mountain in my main photo. And the tone in the blues in the sky are just right where I think it's going to work really well with my main image. So once we have our images selected, we're going to go ahead and open them in Photoshop. What we're going to do is right click, click Edit In, and then actually rather than open as layers in Photoshop, when we're doing sky replacements, we're just going to edit in Photoshop. Okay? Now, when we do that, whoops, let me go ahead and delete this. Okay. When we do that, when we choose edit in Photoshop, it's going to open up each photo as a separate photo instead of layers. Now, the reason why we want to do that rather than just open them as layers is because when you open these two photos as layers in Photoshop, since one is in a landscape aspect ratio and the other is in a portrait, it just kind of screws up the layers a little bit. Now, I'm sure there's a way you can easily fix it, but I'm just trying to show you how to do this in the most simplest way. So just open them up, click Edit in Photoshop and open them up as separate photos. So now that we have these open, we actually do need to put them together as a layer. So there's two ways to do that. One way is to just select your image, make sure you have the Move tool selected. You can select the Move tool by clicking here or tapping V, and then click and hold on your image, hold the Shift key down, and then drag up into your other photo, up into this little I don't like this little name bar. I don't know what you would call that, but drag up the here, and then drag it back down into your photo and let go. And it's going to go ahead and copy those photos together as a layer. Now, honestly, that's not my preferred way to do it. What I like to do is I hit Command, which Command is also Control on a PC. So Command A, this will select your image. Command C to copy the image, and then go to your other photo and hit Command V, and that will paste them together as layers. So now, as you can see, one's a portrait aspect ratio and one is in landscape. So what we need to do is we need to actually resize this. To do that, make sure you're in the Move tool. Also make sure that you have this box clicked, Show Transform Controls. If you don't, then you're not going to have these little icons that allow you to resize your photo. So make sure that that's selected. Once that is selected, click on any corner. It's pretty intuitive, except make sure that you're holding the Shift key down when you drag your image to resize it, because that will keep the aspect ratio intact, okay? Go ahead and resize it and then drag it up to where you feel it should go. Once you're done, make sure that you hit make sure that you hit enter to save that in Photoshop. Otherwise, it's not going to work and you're going to wonder what's going on. So make sure to hit enter. Once this is done, go ahead and drag this layer down below your main layer. One thing to keep in mind too is that if you're not able to drag your layers around, it might be that one of them is locked, okay? So if you ever see this little padlock icon, make sure that that's unlocked. Otherwise you're not going to be able to play around with your layers with complete freedom. Okay, now what we need to do from here is we want to mask out the sky. Now, I'm assuming that you understand what a layer mask is and that you understand what a selection is. If you don't, I really don't have time to explain them in this video because I'm really trying to keep it short. So if you don't understand what those are, I recommend that you watch other videos, or I will post videos in the future that will explain that. But you don't really need to know what a layer mask is. You can just follow along and you'll still be able to perform this. But essentially, we do need to get rid of the sky. So we are looking to mask it out with the layer mask. In order to do that, we want to create a selection of our sky. Now, there are multiple ways to create a selection in Photoshop, but for this example, with a really easy blue sky and a really hard edge like what we have here, we could probably get away with using the Quick Select tool. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, and we will just drag it over our sky. Okay. Now, once you've done this, you do want to zoom in on your selection, on the edge of your selection. So click Z to go into zoom and actually zoom in. And then from here, what you want to do is hold the space key in order to switch from your zoom mode. Whoops. Let me zoom back there. So hit the space key to switch to your move tool, and you'll be able to move around the image like so. Okay, now what we're trying to do here is we're really looking around our edge and we're trying to find areas where the selection didn't work so well, such as this area here around this little snow cap. The quick selection tool didn't select it very well, so we want to kind of refine this. Now, keep in mind, our selection is pretty much selecting from the top of the image down to the mountain, right? So this is our selection. So if we were to add to our selection, you see this little icon here with the plus? This is what we would do if we wanted to expand our selection or add to it, right? So if I was to click into this mountain with the add selected, we're adding our selection into the mountain, right? Because we're expanding our selection. But since we actually want to backtrack on the mountain, what we're really doing is we're looking to subtract our selection, if that makes sense. So to do that, make sure that you click this tool that has the minus on it to subtract. And now when we drag over the mountain, we are actually refining this selection, okay? Might be hard to see on your end. Now you see right here, here's a nice little example of what we're trying to do. Okay. You see right here how my selection went a little too far? To fix this, we want to add into our selection because we want to expand it, okay? So, to do that, make sure that we're selected, okay? All right. All right. There we go. Just like that. Okay. And now what we want to do is just go through our image and find any problem areas and kind of refine our edge. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not actually going to do that because I just want to keep this video nice and short. So once you have your selection created, all you need to do is create a mask. To do that, it's very simple. Just click on this little icon down here add layer mask, and it's going to create a mask. Now, the problem is that if we actually hold Option and click on our mask here, it'll show us our mask in white and black. Now, as we know, white reveals and black conceals. So really what this is doing is it's revealing the sky, but it's concealing the mountain and everything below it. We want to do the opposite. We want to conceal the sky, but reveal everything below it. So in order to correct this, we want to actually click on our layer mask and hold Command I to invert it. And it has effectively done that and created this perfect looking sky replacement layer. Okay. Now, once you have your layer mask created, go ahead and zoom in closer on your edges. Now there's a problem right here. Let's try to figure out what's going on there. Okay. This is great for this video. So as we can see here that we have straight blue showing up here. Okay? Let's hold Option and click on our mask, and you can see it becomes pretty apparent what's happening. The problem here is that for some reason, I guess I messed up my selection, and we're actually concealing this layer, so we're seeing through to the sky layer. We actually want to undo that. So to refine our mask from this point, we can just paint in on this area either with our brush tool, or you know what, an even easier way to do it in this instance is to go into our lasso tool and then just highlight these areas like so. Once you have an area highlighted, you can hit Command Delete, and it's going to fill it in with, you see this little color swatch down here? Command Delete is going to fill it in with your background color. In this case, that's white. And Option Delete is going to fill it in with the foreground color. Okay? Let's go ahead and make another selection around here and hit Command Delete to fill that puppy in with white. We can even do it here. Just like that, just to kind of fill these areas in a little bit. Okay, hold Option and click on our mask, and you can see it took care of that problem there. Getting back to what we were talking about, refining the edge of our mask. Once you're done, you want to zoom in and look at the edge. Now, again, in this case, we found a really good candidate for a sky replacement. We found a sky that was very, very close to the same color as our original sky. If we were working with the sky, like if we were replacing a sky where the color tone was different, our edge might come off looking a little weird. If that should happen, what you want to do is you want to actually refine your edge. Your mask, excuse me. To refine a mask, you click on the mask, right click, and then click down on Refine Mask. Now there's a lot of different options here. I won't go over all of them. For the sake of time, I'll just tell you that the easiest way to do this is to just click Smart Radius and then drag this radius up until it fixes any strangeness along your edges. Okay, what Smart Radius does is it uses a combination of all these settings to kind of make your edge look a lot better. In this case, we don't really need to do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit Z and zoom out. Now, another problem is we're actually seeing the mountain in our original image, you see? So we need to readjust our replacement. To do that, you want to click on your sky replacement layer down here, and then go into your Move tool with V. Make sure that Show Transform Controls is selected, and then go ahead and hold Shift and just drag this until it looks good. Now keep in mind that you can also drag the sky around wherever you really want it to be in order to make it look good. Now again, I kind of like how these wispy clouds kind of push away from the mountain. It looks really cool, and it just frames the mountain really, really well. Once you're done with moving your selection around, go ahead and hit Enter to save it. Now, one more thing that I want to show you, because this can be an issue possibly when you're doing a sky replacement. Okay. To demonstrate this, I'm going to go ahead and move this layer mask down into this layer. Then I'll move it up top. We'll invert this mask, and there we go. Now, let's say I wanted to move the sky layer around. Let's try that. We're in our move tool right now. We're going to move this around. Whoa, what's happening here? That shouldn't be. Okay, what's happening there is we have our layer mask and our layer linked together. And that is indicated by this little chain link here. Pretty intuitive. To unlink these layers, the layer to the layer mask, all you have to do is click on that little link and now they're gone. Now, if we try to move, it's still going to do this wonky little thing here. Why? That's because we're actually selected into our layer. So make sure that you're always selected onto the item that you're trying to adjust. So in this case, we're trying to move around our sky. Make sure that you're actually selected on the sky. When we're selected on the sky, we can move it around however we want. As opposed to, if we're selected on the layer mask, all we can do is move that layer mask around. You follow? You dig? All right, so now that we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and hit Command Save. And that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to give this a unique name. That's going to wrap it up in a nice little bow, package it up, and send it on its way back into Photoshop. Now, here's the image in Photoshop. Oops, you know what? There is one thing I wanted to show you. Let's go back to Photoshop. Once you're actually done editing, it's a good idea to actually flatten or merge these items together. I'm actually going to merge these layers together. And now I'm going to save them. And it's going to send them back into Photoshop. What it does there is when we merge those layers together, it significantly reduces the file size of our file. Although keep in mind that when you do that, once we actually close out of Photoshop, we're not going to have all those layers to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command Z to kind of backtrack. So just keep that in mind. If this is a work in progress, you want to keep these layers intact. But if you're done with the photo, you're done editing it completely, you can merge those together and send them back to Lightroom. Okay, so once we're back in Lightroom, we're almost done here. There's only one more adjustment that I want to make. Something that I'm noticing is that this mountain is much too blue. It's kind of, it doesn't look so good with this warm light shining against the mountain. So I want to go ahead and do an image adjustment on that. And the best way to do this is to use our adjustment brush. Now, with the adjustment brush, you want to make sure, again, I'm assuming that you know a thing or two about Lightroom. Excuse me. We're in our Develop module, and we're going to click up on this icon to open our adjustment brush. When you're in here, you want to click Auto Mask, and you want to click Show Selected Mask Overlay. What Auto Mask does is it's going to detect the edges, and when you're masking in your adjustment, it's going to try to hold on to the edges as good as it can, okay? So I'm just going to do kind of a sloppier job around here for the sake of time. Okay. We're going to go around the edges first. Okay, I have a little bleed over here, so what I'm going to do is click Erase. I'm going to kind of paint back over that area, maybe down here, and then down here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We're going to go back into this, increase our brush size a little bit, and then we'll just go to town. We're trying to adjust the warmth of this mountain, so I really don't want it to go into these trees. So I'm going to go back and kind of adjust that. Okay. Now once we're done, we can click off of that, off of our Show Selected Mask Overlay. And what we're going to do here is, since we're looking at a cool mountain, it's too blue. So To compensate for that, we're going to add some warmth into it. We're going to go into temperature, and if you watch my Lightroom class, you'll know I don't like using the sliders. Instead, I like clicking on the numbers and using my arrow keys up and down in order to make my adjustments. I like having that control. So let's take it to 0 and let's add plus 30 of warmth. Let's go ahead and scroll down here and click on the before and the after. Yeah, that looks a lot better. I like it. You know what? I might back off just a little bit more. Maybe take it down to 27. Add a little bit more coolness to that. But once we had, and so now that we've added this warmth into the mountain, let's just add a little bit more contrast and maybe a little bit more sharpening. And by using our brush, we're able to actually brush over a specific area of our image and just edit that one area. Well, now that with that, we're actually done with this image. So let's go ahead actually and look at a before and an after. Okay. So here's the before and here's the after. Before, after. Beautiful. Now we have a really great image, and it didn't really take us that long to do it. We've taken a great image, and in my mind, we've turned it into an awesome image. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If it was, check out my website, www.nizhoniphoto.com, and follow me on Facebook. Peace.